Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our live stream. I'm Leanne Jones, More 3D, and today I'm joined by Robert Wells, our service manager. And today we're talking about the Geomagic Control X and Design X 2024.2 updates. And we've got, like I say, we've got Rob here who's going to be talking you through. First of all, we're going to be talking about the release notes, but first of all, let's just say hello. Hi, Rob. How are you?
How are you doing? Yeah, I'm good, thanks, Leanne. And you?
Yeah, very well, thank you. So, so we're looking forward to starting with Design X, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, absolutely perfect. So
Brilliant.
what I will do is I'm going to share the release notes with everyone right now,
Great.
which is awesome. What we weren't sure was going to happen or not, we potentially have Kadar from Octon joining us today. So once we've gone through these updates and we've had a quick look at a couple of the key features in Design X, we'll try and invite Kadar into the live stream. And then if anyone's had any questions, there's been any comments on the platforms, we can answer those. And maybe Kadar would like to give some more input. So we'll start by going through the release notes and we'll go from there, if that's okay.
That's fabulous.
So this is the second release for 2024. So we're seeing a lot of improvements effectively on some of the major changes that we saw initially released with 2024. So we'll just flip through some of these now. What you'll probably notice is a lot of the enhancements have been around automation and improving automated workflows. So for those of you already using DesignX, we have an auto sketch function, which will let the user automatically sketch parametrically and with design intent a lot of features. There's been some improvements to that to remove, in a few small cases, problems which could occur, and that's been pretty well eradicated and fixed. So we'll give you a quick demonstration of that shortly. One of the key features within that was this remove small fillet option. So for those of you who potentially aren't aware, and I guess yourself, Leanne, when we're doing modeling work of any kind, really, whether that's reverse engineering or from normal design, fillets and those kinds of features tend to get added towards the end of the workflow. And the auto sketch function used to add small fillets in for you automatically. Excuse me. Now, obviously, that can be a pain. So there's been a new feature added to remove small fillets, which allows you to have control over whether we add those fillets at this stage or later on in the workflow. That's evident in both the auto sketch and a lot of the wizard workflows. And speaking of wizard-based modeling, the main improvement that I want to showcase with you today is the ability to inverse effectively a revolution wizard. So whether you're doing an internal revolve or an external revolve, we can toggle between those two options quite easily now, and that'll be one of the features I demonstrate for you shortly. There's been a few other general UI enhancements, so changing the visibility of your selection tool and a few other elements has become available. And for those of you on Geomagic DesignX Essentials, which, Leanne, that's our sort of cut down version of DesignX. For those of you who don't want to pay the full price, you can get a lot of the tools in the Essentials package for a small fraction of the full price, which is obviously very attractive to some smaller businesses out there and people who maybe aren't using reverse engineering every day. But what we've been able to do in the latest release is port some of the more advanced tools from the full DesignX package into the Essentials package, making it even more attractive from a price and performance point of view. And of course, there's been a number of bug fixes, as you would expect. So if it's okay with you, what I'd like to do now is just jump into DesignX.
Okay.
And hopefully show you a couple of those features, unless you've got any questions at that stage.
Not at the moment, Rob. Yeah, we're looking forward to seeing this demonstration. That'll be good.
Lovely. So we'll try and keep it short and sweet. Got a piece of scan data here. It's quite complicated. There's a lot of revolving patterns there. Potentially sketching this out manually could take you a little while. And so what we're going to do is to jump into a mesh sketch, as everyone using DesignX will know about. But this allows us to section through the scan data. And what it will do is produce this pink polyline, as we call it. And the polyline is basically tracing paper. We can use that as a guide to build our sketch. And what we're going to showcase today is the improvements to the auto sketch tool. So the auto sketch tool allows us to basically do a drag selection over this, and DesignX is now added traditional sketch elements to the scan data, which is now a closed loop. We can extrude that. It's done effectively. But to show you some of the things that came in 2024, for those of you who might have missed them, we've now got a lot of constraint tolerance options. So we can toggle these off. So now we have a completely unconstrained sketch. And then we can go through and we can add on our horizontal and vertical constraints, perpendicularities, parallelisms, and tangencies, and we can apply a tolerance to that. So we can say if an arc or a tangency comes together within a certain number of degrees, then we can force it to be tangent. So that's pretty cool. So the improvement that I wanted to mention in the latest release is, if you can read it here, the remove small fillet function. And obviously you can see that the intersection between most of the arcs and lines on this sketch are small fillets. So we can turn that tool on, and then we can say any fillet with a radius smaller than a certain amount. So if I make that a very small value, then all of those fillets return. And as I increase the value back up, then we can choose to remove them from our sketch. It still keeps a closed sketch. So it's not like we now have lots of gaps. We've effectively removed them and extended any lines and joined them together. So that's still a closed profile, and we can add that in into our workflow nice and easily. Okay.
Fabulous.
So obviously that can be extruded because it's made a nice closed profile for us. Okay.
Fantastic.
So,
thank you, Rob.
Yeah, so that I think is going to please quite a lot of people.
Hmm.
The other one that I wanted to demonstrate to you today is the enhancements to the Revolution wizard. And I've got a quick file set up for that. So we've got some organic scan data here. It's quite a complicated shape, so it lends itself to wizard-based modeling quite well. The first thing we're going to do is get DesignX to look at that scan data and try and understand the different geometric properties. So we will have a planar region, some freeform regions, some tori, that kind of thing. And we're using the region group tool, which DesignX is well known for having. There we go. So now we've got our pretty colorful mesh, and each of those regions is drawn on for us. And we can use those to select what we're trying to model now quite easily. So I could go straight into the Revolution tool now and start modeling this, but to help show you the improvement a little bit better, we're just going to go straight in and give ourselves a block of CAD to work from here. Turn the reference planes back on. So I'm just going to create a quick circle, bigger than it needs to be. And we're going to extrude that up. And because I have my region groups on, I can just drag that extrusion and snap it onto the top of the scan data. So it's the correct size. Okay, so obviously we've got too much CAD here now, and what we're going to do is start by cutting away the outside shape, and we're going to use the modeling wizard for that. So up into the Revolution wizard. Very, very simple to use generally. The wizard's been in DesignX for a long time, but these improvements are really increasing their functionality. So I'm simply going to select the region groups which conform to the Revolution. We're going to give it an axis to work around. And we're going to choose solid cut as the operation. Okay, I'm going to go to the next stage. And what you will see is exactly not what you want. So the preview here, which is showing what the software is going to try and generate for us, is a cut function. Remember, we've just selected, but of course, we're cutting the wrong way. So if we cut this, we have the exact opposite of what we want to achieve. Okay, and I can hit this little box now and say reverse, and now you can see the sketch profile that's been produced in this Revolution wizard is now going to cut away material from the outside. Also notice that we've got that remove small fillet option in here, as well as the various constraints for horizontal and verticals and tangencies as well, and they all get added for us automatically. So I can click OK on that, have another look at our CAD model, and you can see that all of that external data has been removed. We can quite easily repeat that now on the inside. And again, choose solid cut. Go to the next stage. And we can see straight away that it's got it right this time. Of course, if you wanted to, this could be reversed as well. We'll keep it internal. Click OK. Bring the CAD back on. And then in theory, all we need to do is create the fillet top and bottom. check for deviation. And so very quickly, something quite complicated we can model up with these new and improved wizard-based modeling tools. And for me, from a demonstration point of view, that's kind of all I wanted to show. What we'll do now, if it's okay, we'll try and see if we can get Kadar into the call, and hopefully we can have a quick chat, see if there's anything else he wanted to mention. So I'm going to add Kadar in now. Hopefully he'll be able to join us. We'll see.
Hey guys, I'm here.
Hello.
Can you see me?
Yeah, we can see you
We
and
can
hear
see
you,
you.
Kadar. How are you doing?
See you guys. All right. Thank you for the demo, Rob.
No
Really
problem.
good. Yeah, I mean, do you want me to talk about something specific or just talk about what's coming up? I mean,
Yeah, anything you're happy to share. So for those of you who don't know Kadar's the product manager for DesignX at Octon. So if there's any questions, now's definitely a good time to ask them. But maybe while we're waiting for those questions to come in, Kadar, you might have some other insights about the recent updates that you might want to share that we haven't really communicated well enough this afternoon.
you know, this is good. I mean, you did a good job, of course. And the other update I would like to talk about is the highlighting the small UI/UX issues that we did in this release. And the reason I say that is we are going to continue on those updates in the upcoming release also. So you should see some more UI/UX color updates in 24.3 that is going to come up soon in Q3, uh, which would make it easier for customers to use the software effectively. So that's a continuing theme of updates. And you also talked about automation, right? And that is so right because again, in the coming release, there are going to be more updates on the auto sketch command because we see that it's a very effective tool to speed up the process from going to scan to CAD. So auto sketch is a continuing theme. Anything that wizards, auto sketch, and any tool that will help you get faster from the scan to the CAD is a high priority
Yeah,
for us.
definitely. We're looking forward to seeing that for
And
sure. I think that's going to be really good.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, I mean that's a short update on what's happening on our side.
Awesome. Well,
Also.
thank you very much for that. I think
Yeah, sure.
what we'll do, we'll move on to some Control X stuff. Kadar, if you could stay on, we'll
Yeah,
potentially reconvene at the end of the webinar and maybe answer some questions then if there are any.
yeah.
Excellent stuff.
Thank you, Kadar. That's fantastic. So, yeah, I think Rob, it's a nice time to move on to Control X, and we'll start with the release notes if that's okay with you.
Yeah, more than happy to, Leanne. So again, we've got some similarly great updates for Control X, and hopefully we'll have Sean Parker, the Control X product manager from Octon, join us shortly afterwards. So in 2024 release, we saw the improvement of replace reference data, and obviously we talked about that in our last webinar. But just to recap, Control X is a CAD-based inspection package, and it's really efficient at creating the inspection templates in the beginning, and then utilizing them to be able to batch process and repeat inspections very easily. The thing that historically was difficult, no longer, was if someone in your design department turned around to you and said, "Oh, hey, we've changed the design now. We've tweaked this hole size or something really minor, or we've created a part library, so now we've got lots of part variations. Your inspection reports are great, but we want you to apply them to all these other models we have." Historically, you would have had to have recreated your inspection plan on each individual CAD design, which can be really inspections can become quite complicated. That could be quite a time-consuming thing. So Sean and the product development team at Octon introduced the replace reference data tool, which has been fantastic. So now we can create an inspection report on an initial design, replace the reference data with a part variant, and semi-automatically, certainly guided or wizard-based, you might want to call it, port the inspection plan from one design to the other. So that's been a really great improvement, and there have been a few improvements in the latest release, which we'll try and demonstrate to you shortly. There we go. And so again, we've got the UI improvements that Kadar just mentioned in ControlX, the same as in DesignX, and I'll try and show you those as well as new color templates. So when you're fitting geometry, we obviously get lots of statistical information about how well that geometry will fit to scan data. What we can do now is create a very nice visual representation of the fitting of the geometry to the scan data. So for those who aren't in statistics and just want to see if something fits and maybe be able to understand why it fits or why it doesn't, we've got that capability as well. And again, the same kind of bug improvements there as well. So let me, if you bear with me 1 second, Leanne, I will share my screen for ControlX. When it decides to load. There we go. Excellent stuff. So, ControlX. I have a sheet metal part here with a very basic inspection on. You can see in my file I've got some scan data. If we look at the result tree on the left-hand side, if you can read that, we've got the reference data at the top, some measured data in there, a simple best fit alignment, although that could be as complicated as you want to make it, and a very small bit of GD&T, so a radial dimension and a couple of linear dimensions. Of course, this could be very complicated, but for the purpose of the demonstration, we want to keep it nice and simple. Okay. And in ControlX, historically, we've always been able to replace measured data. So we can, say we have 5 parts come off the production line, we can scan each one of those and hit replace measured data and check the results of each one very, very quickly without having to repeat any complicated measurements. Now we have the replace reference data tool, and I'm just going to select that. The import dialog appears, which unfortunately is not shown because I've shared the application window and not my screen, but I'm just going to select the new CAD file, and you'll see that now comes in. Once it's imported, we're taken into the replace reference data tool, which will look similar to some other tools in ControlX if you're a frequent user. Up on the top right here, we have our old reference data, and our new reference data is down in the bottom right. Okay. Over on the left-hand side, we have a dialog tree, which is going to help us take the features which were important on the old data and make sure they are paired correctly on the new model. Of course, this is a very simple example, but potentially we've got a completely different size part with the same features or new features of differing shape if we've got a part library or something like this. So what I can do, I can click on each of these and I can quickly see which features they're referring to. You can see that updating on the right-hand side. And at the moment, they're not paired up. The other thing you can see from an update point of view is the fact we can now include body boundaries and edges in the replace object tool, which means we can now easily support sheet metal and that kind of thing, whereas this was a bit more difficult before now. So it's a really good update from that point of view. And the main thing, which I think is really, really interesting, is when we click on these different features, you can see on the left-hand side in the result data tree where I have my GD&T, I can see exactly which GD&T features are related to those edges or boundaries. Okay, so you can see as I click through the list, that gets selected on the left-hand side. Of course, we need to be able to pair the geometries to the new model, so I can just click on this little search icon up here. And then as I go through, we can see that each of those geometries has been paired successfully. We click OK. And now the inspection report is being ported across. And we get our new inspection really, really quickly without having to recreate all the dimensions or the alignments and that kind of thing. So that's been a really big improvement to ControlX. Okay. Is that okay, Leanne? Does that make sense? Perfect. Okay. What we'll do now is we will jump into another quick demonstration. So I'll just do a new file. And I'm going to import this geometry fitting file. And what we can do now in Control X is this. I can use a selection tool, select some scan data. And at the bottom of our dialog tree for this sphere fitting, we have the show fitting deviation on preview. So this is new. So when I click preview now, if I hide the scan data a second, you can see a lovely color map showing the deviation, and it's completely customizable. So I can come in here and I can change the tolerance bar range and show things accordingly. I can come back, decide to turn off that fitting deviation, click OK. And there's the geometry fitted. Same goes for any other geometry. So maybe we have a cone. And we can make that selection. Show fitting on preview. See the preview. So this is really nice. It communicates really well why geometry is fitting badly or how well it's fitting as well. So that's really, really cool. Just a reminder, there's been some really big improvements to the automation side of things. For those using Control X, if you're not already looking at it, start looking at visual scripting. We'll probably do a webinar specifically on that in the not too distant future. But that's a really powerful tool, which is relatively new to Control X and is continuing to be improved. So what I think we'll do now, we'll see if he's available. We'll see if we can add Sean to the webinar. Hi, Sean. Can you hear us okay?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me all right?
Yeah, perfect. Might have some audio
Fantastic.
issues with Leanne, but we've definitely got you at the moment. So for everyone who hasn't met Sean in the past, Sean's obviously the Control X product manager at Octom, and we've invited him here today in case he had anything he wanted to add in terms of features which have been added recently, what's on the roadmap, that kind of thing. So anything you can share, Sean?
Great. Yeah. First, I do want to start off with a bit of a clarification. For a lot of people on the call probably realize that Kadar had been the product manager for Control X for a number of years there. I only took over maybe in September, October of last year. So all credit to him for finally bringing that replace reference data function to life. That's something that a lot of our customers have been begging for quite some time. And there's still some work to do on it. There's a mirror image CAD part, kind of A side, B side functionality would be really nice, and some other things. But at least the iteration that we have out right now does satisfy some of the initial customer requests that came in for that command.
Yeah, definitely.
In terms of kind of the future a little bit, automation has always been a theme. You just brought up the visual scripting tools that we've got in the software. They've been really heavily utilized. Certainly, they've only been around for a couple of years, so a lot of documentation and a lot of additions, fixes, new features with respect to those functions are always going to be needed for a new tool set until it becomes kind of mature. There's some features, there's some commands rather in Control X that are not yet supported by visual scripting, so we'll continually add new versions of that and new ways to make that extensible as well. If you want to try and run a Python script in as part of the workflow of visual scripting, you'll be able to do that and connect it to some other things as well. So 24.3 will have a ton of automation enhancements. I can't speak too much about them right now. They're a little bit under wraps, although we do have a couple of betas that are being tested right now. I'm very excited to see the progress of what's coming in that release, and we will make some more announcements as we get a little bit closer to that. But automation is going to be a continued theme, as well as just kind of improving some of the core functionality of the software. We've been around for a long time. We've been able to kind of aggregate a lot of feedback on some of the tools that kind of need to be modernized and streamlined a little bit. And so we've been hard at work for some of that, and can't wait for it to see the light of day. It's going to be exciting.
Yeah, no, we're all excited here. It's seen some great improvements with obviously both Design X and Control X over the past few years, and yeah, we're looking forward to seeing where it goes.
Excellent. Yeah.
Right. Let's see if Kadar's here just to maybe answer any questions if there are any. Are you there still, Kadar, or have we lost you?
No, I'm here.
Perfect. So first of all, obviously, thank you both for joining us today. I think it's been really beneficial to everyone watching to make sure it's not just us, the same old
Thanks for
faces. So
having me.
no, really appreciate that. Are we aware, Leanne, or of any questions that have been asked? Just lost your audio there, Leanne, I think. Okay. What we'll do, if there are any questions, in that case, we'll follow up with you all individually. And of course, we'll reach out to you, Sean and Gadar, if there are any questions we can't answer directly. But that's been great. Thank you everyone for joining us today. If you have any questions, just drop some comments or send us an email to info@or3d.co.uk. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Thank you, guys.
Yes.
Bye.